So during the launch stream for Marching Fire, the devs threw out a little teaser 2019, the Harbinger. We don't really know too much about it. They literally just throwed an image of a hammer with an edgy, desolate-esque looking background and kind of left us to speculate. So that's what we're going to do. So jumping into a bit of lore behind medieval hammers generally, knights typically used long war hammers and shorter variants as well, atop horsebacks for the longer variant, and the shorter variant was typically for like your foot soldier, your ground trooper. This was thanks to the fact that these hammers had a blunt side, which was a weighted war hammer, and was pretty good against armor because a lot of plate armor was being developed during the time that the warhammer was coming into fruition, and it was a good way to just sort of deal damage to the person in armor, bypass it without being too messy or clunky, because of course swords and axes not too effective against plate. A well-placed strike from a warhammer could dismount a horseman, and then you could use the sharper pick side to sort of get in between the more vulnerable spots of his armor and deal actual piercing damage to him. Of course, the downside to the warhammer is that it could easily be trapped in someone else's armor, the pick side I mean, when you try to, do your whole real damage, actually try to kill the person. And so that was kind of a sucky thing, but it doesn't look like the reveal for this sort of warhammer, if it's going to be attached to a new hero at least, is going to have a pick, though of course we can't fully see the other side of the warhammer, so maybe it does have more of a more pronounced spike end, but we'll just have to wait and see for that. Overall, I suppose it looks a bit more similar to the Indo-Persian warhammer, which had a blunt side and a spiked side as well, but the shaft was much longer, and it also, some of these designs have like gold parts in them. We can see that this actual reveal for this hammer does in fact have, gold trims, which actually might make you think perhaps Norse, because of the fact that we have those pieces of armor for the Vikings, the Raider, he's got that massive gold axe, and there's quite a few others, like the Berserker, they've got like golden weapons as well. I mean, so do other factions, like the Knights, say, but this hammer might remind you of Mjolnir a little, Thor's great hammer that, he used. The only caveat is the shaft, and it's true that we can't really see how long the shaft actually is. It could actually be a very small shaft hammer, we're just not sure. But of course Thor's hammer, thanks to Brock's bet with Loki, and Loki not wanting to lose his life, so him turning into a Gladfly and then flying into Brock's eyes whilst he was making Thor's hammer, causing the shaft or the handle to be quite short, instead of, a regular hammer being quite a long handle. Mjolnir is a short-handled hammer. So I suppose we'd need more confirmation on that front. But the word Harbinger itself does actually mean initiator of change, or thing or person that helps to establish a new technology, activity, or method. And so thinking back to the medieval knight hammer, I can't think of any greater change you can make to that hammer than making the actual hammerhead itself bigger, thicker, and more threatening as a weapon. Or for Thor's Mjolnir itself, making the shaft longer. So maybe we could see some sort of fantasy hammer warrior in the game. And I know that's something that people have wanted for a while as well, me included actually. So it makes sense to put in some sort of hammer warrior eventually. And the Harbinger also means something that foreshadows a future point in time or a future event. And we all know that this game does do events, so perhaps we could see some sort of fantasy blacksmith event or something along those lines. A lot of the events that we've been given, a good number of them is giving us like different armor variations and of course new weapons. So there could be that. It could also be a new game mode or an event that's tied to hero, a new hero. How would you feel about that, an event that's tied to a hero? I don't think that that's a good idea. That would probably be pretty bad, but depending on how it's done, it could be nice. Or if it's something along the lines of an event that will actually let us unlock the hero just by playing the event. Though I don't know if Ubisoft would be willing to forego the steel. I mean, of course you could probably buy it for steel later, or maybe they'd increase steel costs after the event's done, but yeah. So to wrap things up here, I've got about 3 ideas of what this event, or this, Harbinger 2019 thing could actually be. The first, thanks to the fact that there are 15 million players, and it's something that they showed off in the dev stream, they probably want to keep those players around. So assuming that it is an event, perhaps centered around Thor and Jormungandr, because if you look at the hammer itself, there's a little, creature sort of thing, and I'm just going to pretend that that's some sort of serpent or something. We can't actually tell what kind of creature it is exactly, but could be a serpent, so let's go with that. And we know that Jormungandr was the greatest nemesis of Thor. They're destined to end each other come Ragnarok. So with this being a hammer and with that sort of connection, A nice Viking event wouldn't be too bad. Another thing it could be is just them revealing the first name of the first hero that they're going to release for the first heroes they're going to release for 2019, because, you know, they release 2 heroes at a time, usually up to this point. Okay, now they've released 4 heroes at once, but when they do these launch events, it's not normally 1 hero alone. Of course, we might get to a point where that is the case, but we're not there yet. I don't know if we're there yet, so this could simply just be the first of 2 heroes that they're revealing early. And that season patch could probably come with, you know, maybe updates to some of the heroes. You know, Goki or Aramusha probably need something, and things like that. Everything that you'd expect from a season update. The last thing, as this is a hammer, and hammers can be used to forge other weapons, maybe this could be some sort of weapon event. You know, similar to the events that we've had before, like the Christmas event that we had, and the Apollyon event, things like that, where we can play the game and unlock weapons and get event gear like that, that's there for a limited time. I don't see why it couldn't be that, and as it's a possibility, I'm mentioning it. One last idea I want to add here at the end is that as it's called Year of the Harbinger, a whole year of content, perhaps that means they want to continue the For Honor story, and maybe that means along with the story we'll get releases of heroes like that. I mean, that would be a different way to release heroes, and maybe a more acceptable way to release 1 hero at a time as opposed to 2. I don't know, that's just an extra idea I had, purely because it's called Year of the Harbinger. But those are more or less the 3 things that I think this could be. But what about you? What do you expect this to be? What do you want this to be? Do you want it to be like a new hero, multiple heroes, a massive event, perhaps even a game mode? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, go ahead and leave a like, and of course subscribe to the channel. And until the next video, have a very good day. I have been Prime, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.